In this video, we're going to draw the graphs of sine theta, cos theta, and tan theta, and we're going to use our knowledge of the unit circle to help us. So I've got a copy of the unit circle on the left-hand side, and we'll use that. The first one we're going to do is sine theta. So if you use the unit circle at 0 degrees, sine theta is 0, so we will start here, and as you go anti-clockwise, the sine graph rises from theta to 1 between 0 and pi over 2, or 90 degrees. Then in quadrant 2, it is still positive, but it is now going down from 1 back to 0 at 180 or pi degrees. Then it is negative and going up to -1 at 3 pi over 2 degrees, and then it is still negative, but it is rising as it gets to 2 pi or 360 degrees. If you go the other way round the unit circle, it again starts at 0, but goes down towards -1 at minus pi over 2 degrees. It is still negative, but it is rising as it gets to pi degrees, or minus 180. Then it is positive and is rising as it goes to minus 3 pi over 2 degrees, or minus 270 degrees. Then it is still negative, but is going down towards 0 as you reach minus 2 pi or minus 360 degrees. We have drawn one complete cycle in the positive direction and one complete cycle in the negative direction. The sine curve is a periodic function. What we mean by a periodic function, it just keeps repeating itself, and its period, as you can see, we'll take this period here, is 360 degrees, or 2 pi. So it repeats itself every 360 degrees, or 2 pi. And it doesn't matter which parts you take. You could take those two troughs, and that is one complete cycle, and the difference between them is 360 degrees, or 2 pi. You could take these two parts here from there to there. Again, it is exactly the same period, 360 degrees, or 2 pi. And a sine curve will just keep repeating itself in the positive direction or the negative direction. You can also see that it has a maximum amplitude of 1 in both the positive and the negative direction. So the graph goes from a maximum of 1 to a minimum of -1. This time we're going to draw the cosine graph. So the cosine graph at 0 degrees starts off at 1. In the first quadrant, it is always positive, but it is going down, and it reaches 0 at 90 degrees, or pi over 2. Then it is negative, and it is getting more negative until it reaches -1 at pi, or 180 degrees. Then it is still negative, but it is getting higher until it reaches 0 at 3 pi over 2 or 270 degrees. Then it is positive and it is increasing until it reaches 1 again at 2 pi degrees. If we go the opposite way round the unit circle, it starts off 1 is positive but is declining until it gets to minus 90 or minus pi over 2. Then it becomes negative and it is increasingly negative until it reaches a value of minus 1 at minus pi degrees or minus 980, Then it starts to increase, but it's still negative until we get to minus 3 pi over 2 or minus 270 degrees. Then it is positive and is increasing until it reaches a value of 1 at minus 2 pi or minus 360 degrees. As you can see, we have one complete cycle in the positive direction and one complete cycle in the negative direction. Again, you can notice that the cosine function is periodic and its period is again 360 degrees or 2 pi degrees, and again it doesn't matter where you measure the period, it's always 360 degrees or 2 pi degrees. Again, its amplitude is 1 in the positive direction, 1 in the negative direction. You should also notice that the graphs of cos theta and sine theta are really identical graphs, but out of phase by an amount of 90 degrees or pi over 2 degrees. The third graph we're going to draw is tan theta, and remember that tan theta is sine theta divided by cos theta. That means at 90 degrees and 270 degrees, we have an asymptote because at that value, cos theta is 0, and if you divide by 0, it is undefined. So at pi over 2 and at 3 pi over 2, we have an asymptote. And if you go in the negative direction at minus pi over 2 and at minus 3 pi over 2, you also have an asymptote. So between 0 and 90 degrees, it is positive, and it's going up towards the asymptote but never touches it. And then it comes down there and never touches it. And then we've got to repeat it between negative up to pi and then positive again up towards the asymptote and negative until we get to 2 pi, and in the opposite direction again it is negative up towards the asymptote, and in the final section it goes up there towards the asymptote. Tan theta is also periodic and its period is different to the other two. The period for tan theta is 180 degrees or pi degrees, no matter where you choose to find one period, it is always 180 degrees or pi degrees.